On this episode of Parks in the Palm Beaches, we're stepping back in time at Riverbend Loxahatchee Battlefield Park in Jupiter, Florida, where history comes alive.
Fire!
Loxahatchee Battlefield Park is a treasure trove of history, preserving the site of the Second Seminole War's last major battle in 1838. This park stands as a testament to the courage and resilience of the Seminole people and the soldiers who fought here.
The Seminole Wars are very important to our history here in Florida, and most people have never even heard of the Seminole Wars. One thing that happened in 1817 when Andrew Jackson invaded Florida, it was actually Spanish territory. It was a huge international incident, almost caused a war with Spain. But out of that, Spain realized they could not defend Florida if the United States wanted Florida, so they sold Florida to the United States in 1821. Some other things that are really important is the cities that we have in Florida that were Seminole War forts before they were cities, like Fort Jupiter, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Myers, Fort Pierce. And Miami was Fort Dallas, Tampa was Fort Brooke, and Ocala was Fort King. So all of these were Seminole War forts way before they ever thought about being cities. So a lot of things came out of the Seminole Wars that people in Florida don't understand. To me, the number one thing is that we got Florida from Spain.
The Seminole calls this land the grassy water. And the Seminole, who knows the Everglades of Florida as no white man can, has named them well.
There were actually three Seminole Wars from the period 1817 to about 1858. Our Seminole friends only consider it one war. They were at war with the United States government from 1817 to about 1858. So they don't recognize that there were three wars. Seminoles also never signed a peace treaty with the United States government, so to this day they're considered the unconquered Seminoles, and they're very proud of that fact. The Seminole Wars had many controversies and in fact have been compared to the war in Vietnam, the Vietnam War, because there were so many controversies during the time. The first controversy was, why do you want Florida? Why do you want the land? That land is useless, it's swamps and it's alligators and it's snakes and it's bugs. The land's useless, why do you want that land? The second problem was, well, why do you want the Seminoles to leave their homeland? The Seminoles always said that their fathers were buried here and this was their homeland. The Seminoles believed that the land belonged to, as they call him, the breath maker or God, and they were here just to use the land, and so they didn't have this concept of land ownership. Also, there was not just one chief over the Seminoles. When we think of Indian tribes, we usually think of like Geronimo or Sitting Bull, or those tribes that had a central chief. The Seminoles lived in clans. It was a matriarchal society. Your clan goes by your mother, and each clan kind of had its leaders. So if one clan signed a peace treaty with the United States felt like that included the whole Seminole tribe. But the Seminoles didn't see it that way. That was only for that clan, so there was controversy there. The other controversy was that the war was over, and people don't realize it, but it had a lot to do with slavery. The plantation owners, particularly in the South, as their slaves would escape and come to Florida, and they would assimilate into the Seminole tribe. The plantation owners went to the federal government and said, we want our slaves back, we need our slaves back. So the war was a lot about recovering those slaves. And in fact, slave catchers would follow the army. And if you were black, whether you were freed black or born out of captivity, they still considered them slaves. So the abolitionists up north, of course, really opposed the war. There were also some controversies that occurred during the war that made it very controversial. The most famous of which, of course, was the capture of Osceola under a white flag of truce. There's rules of war, and you just don't capture somebody under a white flag. So Loxahatchee was also captured under a white flag. So those things really made especially the people up north feel like that, they weren't being fair to the Seminoles.
Led by their chief, they go deeper into the glades, further away from civilization and the white man with whom, after an unequal and atrocious war lasting for 7 years, they signed a treaty, only to have it violated and broken time and time again.
The federal commanders would write Washington and say, we can't win this war, because the Indians were using guerrilla warfare tactics, whereas the federal army, of course, was using Napoleonic tactics. And so it was much like Vietnam when they were using guerrilla warfare tactics. Washington would write back that We defeated Britain. We're the greatest nation on earth. We're the United States of America. And the word they would use is, we're not going to let those savages defeat us.
Some of the things that happened during the Seminole Wars should not have happened. Government should not have been involved in. For example, the Seminole Wars were about slavery and recovering the slaves that had escaped from the plantations and assimilated into the Seminole tribe. You know, the federal government, when I ask children, should they be involved in doing that, and they say no. And I said, well, that's something that, you know, today even sometimes government's involved in things that we don't think they should be involved in. So you need to learn the history, be involved in your community and in your country, register to vote, and be informed on all the issues that come before us. It's really neat to be a reenactor and be able to reenact on the actual battlefield where the battle took place. That's very special to a reenactor. And it's really nice to be able to portray that history and to show people what things were like in that time period. Some of it was good, some of it was not, but it's nice to show people what it was like during that period and kind of the reason why we're here the way we are, why things turned out the way they did, and understand what happened before we came along.
The land around Loxahatchee River, where Riverbend Park is located, has a long history of Native American occupation. The Seminole and Miccosukee tribes were among the indigenous peoples who inhabited the region, relying on the river's resources for sustenance.
We're really just trying to present our history from what's been passed down generation to generation, as they say. In historical context, we didn't have written language. We spoke language. So it was important to spend time with people, to learn from them. And I tell people all the time when they meet Seminoles, if they're traditional, there's also non-traditional Seminoles who just live like modern day people. But traditional Seminoles, they're a little different. Like myself, I'm out in the public, so I shake hands, I make eye contact with people. But that's not what we traditionally do, because handshaking was introduced to us by the Europeans. That wasn't from us. And making eye contact, that was a sign of disrespect for us. But traditionally speaking, if like you go to one of our reservations, you see some of our elders speaking, they're sitting next to each other. They never look at each other, but they talk for hours upon hours, because for us, the biggest respect you could give somebody is your ear, not your eyes. You're not talking with your eyes, you're talking with your mouth and listening with your ears. So you can't learn if you're just busy, oh, I'm just looking at you. No, you listen, you give them your ear. That's the utmost respect in our culture. And so these things that have been passed down to us about not just the land in Florida, but the people who have been here. We've seen other cultures come here. We were here when the Polynesians arrived on the shores of Florida and then left because they told us they were looking for a land of their own to call home.
With knowing hands, he pulls his way homeward in the late afternoon, instinctively alert to both the wonders and the dangers of his world.
The reenactors you'll see today on the field, they take this seriously. You know, when I go speak places and I talk in terms that people aren't used to hearing, like they want me to talk about the 3 Seminole Wars, and I go, well, I just want to talk about the war. Because for us, even in between those, there was hostility. It wasn't a calm place. And then, you know, going back in European military history and whatever history you want to talk about, a lot of times when a military group attacked another group, one group of men attacked another group of men. But in Florida at that time, U.S. soldiers attacked the Seminoles. They didn't just attack the men, it was the women and children. We lost so many women and children along the way in this war, this time of war, not 3 Seminole Wars for us, but the war. But today, Seminole tribe like myself and the gentleman Jake Tiger and others in Seminole Nation and Seminole tribe, we've come together because we're trying to mend those multi-generational impact of war upon all of us. We're still dealing with it today.
So the reason why it's important to put it in a setting, because there's different types of learning. What I've learned, and I go around to, with my job with the Seminole Nation back home, I really try to bring history to life, because, you know, most kids do not want to just sit back and listen to a lecture and be bored of it. You know, I really want to encapsulate that to people and show them what history actually looked like. Now, because it's kind of hard to imagine that kind of stuff when you just read it on, you know, in black and white. But when you get to see it up close and personal, that's when you actually get to, you know, those ideas start to circulate of what history was actually like back then.
And growing up, I had a great-grandpa, Corey Osceola. He's in so many history books, new presidents and all kinds of stuff, but he always told me, you got two hands. You fill one with all your traditional knowledge, you fill the other hand with anything else you can get in it. Any knowledge from school, from a person. If they teach you how to weld, do plumbing, you take that knowledge and keep it, and you use both hands. You use both hands in life, not just one, because you only use one, you're just gonna go in a circle. So I remember all these things growing up in a traditional upbringing for Seminoles, because I was raised by not just my parents, but aunts, uncles, great-grandparents. We all lived in the same village, and it's just a different time we live in today.
I personally believe it's very important to remember like the history of land, the history of like what things took place so that we can make changes and not repeat the mistakes of the past. War is like one of the most egregious examples of mistakes that we don't want to repeat. Where two cultures come together and we're put into a situation where we end up having to share land.
You know, the main thing is trying to keep history alive, right? And then also sharing a piece of history that not a lot of people know about, and really bringing that to the forefront and to a lot of people's mind. The story of the Second Seminole Indian Wars as it relates to the Seminole people, but also as it relates to African Americans and stuff here in the state of Florida. Not a lot of people know about that, and it's been interesting and it's been fun sharing that history with other people. So for me, reenacting, dressing up in period regalia, it really brings history alive to other people. And it's not just reading a history book, reading a textbook, or even just watching a documentary or something on TV, but people can come up, they can ask questions, they can get engaged with each other, and it's kind of a grassroots way of being able to share history with one another.
He's my wild mountain honey, and I love, yes I do. She's my sweet Annie honey.
In the early 19th century, European settlers began exploring and settling in the area. The Loxahatchee River was a vital transportation route for pioneers and settlers during this time. This peaceful landscape was once the scene of fierce conflict. Today, however, it's a place where we can reflect, learn, and experience history firsthand.
Fire! 1, 2, 3.
The park's annual battle recreation is a powerful way to bring history to life. Visitors witness the clash between the Seminoles and the U.S. Army troops, gaining a deeper understanding of the struggle to preserve Seminole lands and culture.
This tree has seen thousands of years of history. It's been here for a number of years, dating back to 1838, with reference to Loxahatchee Battlefield Park, or Riverbend Loxahatchee Battlefield Park. And today we have the exceptional opportunity to learn this unique history of the Second Seminole War. This tree, if it had eyes, could tell exceptional stories. So I'm hoping that today, with our wonderful reenactors, Palm Beach County Parks and Rec Department, and the wonderful residents who come out with their family and kids, can learn this exceptional story while looking at the story from the eyes of the Tree of Tears. I don't want to spoil it for you, so it's sort of like a movie. We're about to see over 187-year history, things that happen here, to include demonstrations. Also, we will learn the rich history from the U.S. Army and U.S. government side, while also learning the history of the Native Americans known as Seminoles who fought and served here.
That's amazing. So from what I gather, it's not only us who hold information about history, but also nature itself. The trees themselves tell their own story.
The trees themselves do tell their own stories. As we were talking earlier with reference to our own Native American ancestry, you know, like I know and others know, that everything is living. The trees, the branches, the birds, the flowers. And why should we not connect with it to help tell our exceptional American stories?
The park offers more than just recreation. Visitors can explore interactive exhibits, listen to the storytellers, and even walk the very trails where these events unfolded.
The females' role would be they're the support people. They did a majority of the cooking, camp setting up. They were there to physically support the soldiers of the time, to get them through the battles, mending clothes, washing clothes, whatever was needed that particular time.
While the history is captivating, Loxahatchee Battlefield Park is also a haven for nature lovers. Its scenic trails and vibrant ecosystems offer a chance to reflect and connect with the land itself. This park reminds us that history and nature go hand in hand. It's a place to honor the past while enjoying the beauty of the present. Riverbend Park's history is a testament to the importance of preserving natural environments and cultural heritage while providing the community with a place to connect with the outdoors and learn about the region's history. The park's blend of natural beauty and historical significance makes it a unique and valuable asset in the Palm Beaches.
I'm here at the 187th anniversary of the Battle of the Loxahatchee, and it is historic and it's important for our community and our county, and to just have the reenactors here and the history and have all the families, and people are coming back year after year to see this. And it's not just about this battle, and it's not just about this park, it's about the 110 parks that we have here in our county. Some of them are historic, some of them new, and here you have so many people enjoying and learning, and that's what it's all about when you come to one of our parks.
Loxahatchee Battlefield Park isn't just a piece of history. It's a living story that continues to inspire and educate.
It's across communities, it's across cultures, and all of these things are part of our story. And I think that with each passing decade, you're introducing a new generation to the story and to the narrative, to their understanding of their history, their culture, what was here. And frankly, I think what it also adds to this is a responsibility that we are loyal to that legacy, that we are aligned to that narrative in history, and that we understand both through time our best days and frankly some of our saddest days. And how do we build on those as community? What we're all witnessing is the energy of others today who have cared enough to be sure that the story could be relayed. It is now our responsibility. How can we bring our energy, our connectiveness, our resources to be sure that not only is that story passed along, but the depth and the richness of the story is passed along.
Whether you're here for the battle recreation, the serene trails, or the cultural connection, this park is an experience like no other. The parks in the Palm Beaches. History lives here.